Welcome to Stop Wasting Your Wine, a wine review podcast where we waste our wine so you don't have to. On this episode, we review
a red wine from Croatia with guest Ellen Lainez, the Wine Consul.
Two new things I just heard in that explanation right there at the top. Croatian wine and a brand new guest. Ellen, thank you so much for joining us. Amazing to have you.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's so nice to be here. I think it's going to be a fun session, so we can chat about Croatian wines, my passion for it, which is very weird, and other things wine.
I love that. I think that'll be great. We have billed on the top of our notes here, expert in Croatian wine, founder of the Wine Consul. But Aaron, I believe that there's more to Ellen's story as well. I think you want to do a little introduction for Ellen, so I'll throw it to you, sir.
Yeah, so as you already mentioned, Ellen, we're so excited to have you. Ellen is a professional wine educator, has crafted experiences all over Canada and Latin America for over 10 years. She is the founder of the Wine Consulate, which is an education site for beverage training and education and wine education courses. And you certify hotels, bars, restaurants all across Canada and Central America. And on top of that, I went down your references, your skill set. And I just want I am struggling to get my first W set. I just can't get around to studying for it, And so I just went down. Ellen is the Wines of Argentina ambassador, Wines of Chile ambassador, Wines of Croatia, and the founder of the Croatian Wine Ambassador, first ambassador, Wines of Greece Ambassador, Wines of Portugal Ambassador, Italian Wine Scholar, Spanish Wine Scholar, and certified bartender with the Toronto Institute of Bartending.
Oopsie. I love
and in your spare time.
in my spare time, I do drink beer.
I love that. That's amazing.
Well-rounded.
Exactly.
That's incredible. A true wine expert.
Yes.
Us jokers, just, we come on here and pretend, but we got a true wine expert in our midst this
Absolutely. Week. Thank God.
I'll do my best. Learning about wine is something that I do every single day. I mean, you learn something new every single day, right?
Yeah.
And tasting is the best. So let's waste our wine.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
No, we appreciate you bringing your expertise to share with us today, and a bottle of wine as well that we're gonna enjoy from Croatia. So, looking forward to all that. But before we get into that too, just we'd love to take a minute, just after reading through all of these accomplishments and certifications and everything you've done, just sort of get into your story, if we could, And I just want to ask, how did you get into wine? Where did your wine journey really begin?
I think I'm allowed to say that I started drinking at a very young age.
What?
Yeah. My dad was a whiskey collector, and I wasn't really I'm not really fond of whiskey. I don't know why. I mean, I can enjoy it sometimes in a drink or something with a bourbon-based cocktail. Sure. But then he introduced me to wine when I was 12, and I sipped my first taste. It was a Cabernet Sauvignon, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And at the beginning, I was like, oh, this is the first thing it came to my mind, it was like, oh, this is strong. That's what we say.
Right.
And people refer to strong when they feel like it's full, a lot of alcohol, probably high in tannins, a lot of things happening. So that's how I kind of started. He was the one who was working. He was the actual consul, right? And so I named my business after that memory, right? Of, traveling and kind of being in different settings with ambassadors and consuls and everything. And kind of learning and seeing how people was drinking. And I was maybe 12, 15, 16. And I was joining them, going to those receptions. And it was kind of fancy. And I was like, oh, okay. So people drink wine and they are fancy. Okay, I like that. But, in my country, there was not really a lot of exposure on wine. The culture there is more like cocktails and beer. Now is growing, and the wine industry is kind of evolving in Central America, which is fascinating. That's the reason why I'm kind of doing something there whenever I can.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how we
that's
started.
amazing. So
Very
you
cool.
you're really you were born into the life, you know? Yeah, that's amazing.
I mean, I don't know. Some people say, "Oh no, I shouldn't expose my kids to alcohol or drinks." And obviously, we have to drink responsibly, and
Of course, yeah, yeah.
we won't give our kids any alcohol, of course, right?
Sure.
But what I noticed, and what my parents noticed too, is that when they exposed me to alcohol around me, it became like a normality, like having it for
Yeah.
dinner or
Yes.
something like that, and there was no way that a guy is gonna make me drunk when I was
Uh-huh.
out, you know.
Yes.
And I
There's
was like,
something to be
oh,
said for
I'm
that.
ready
Yeah.
for this, and this is great.
Yep.
I have the experience now. Obviously, I was drinking just a tiny bit. I was having more
Sure.
beer than wine, and probably rum. Yeah,
I
Gotcha.
think that's like super important. Like my friends growing up, whose parents were the strictest with alcohol, those guys were the rowdiest drinkers when we were young because their parents made it so off limits that it just became a challenge of like, I have to go get this thing. And on the flip side of that, like my friends who did not drink until they got to college also had a really rough first couple years in college because they did not know their limits, and then they're immediately surrounded by so much alcohol. So there's something to be said. There's something to be said for making sure that, especially as kids are going from high school to college, have an understanding of the impact of alcohol on their system. I am not, arguing out here for underage drinking, but like,
yeah,
I don't want my kids the very first time they experience alcohol to be when they're a freshman in a college dorm
exactly.
and not
Totally.
know, what the impact is on their system.
Hmm.
So it
Yeah.
is it is something to consider. So when you say that, I'm not like clutching my pearls like, "Oh my god, like the alcohol at a young age." Like, no, alcohol needs to be handled responsibly.
Yeah,
And people need to know, you don't want to stick someone behind the wheel of a car for the first time as soon as they earn their license. Like, they have to know how to
Right.
operate it before they drive by themselves.
Yeah. That's a
exactly. I
good way to put it.
mean, they need to be a little bit exposed. I think if we keep our kids in a bubble, then I mean, it happens. You have kids, so you know how it is,
Yep.
right? Obviously, we're not promoting alcoholism, but it's
Yeah.
drinking responsibly and just learn how not to get drunk. Drink the good stuff, right?
No, and you being in
That's very true.
Canada, it's actually the drinking age is very different
Yes.
where you are than where we are. So, for you, like kids are generally legally allowed to drink as they're transitioning out of public school.
Hmm.
Whereas for us, like some kids are in their first 2 years in college where they legally
Yeah.
can't drink, which just creates a recipe for disaster because they're
Yeah.
surrounded by peers who are old enough to consume alcohol, but not exactly responsible enough to withhold it from their underage peers. So like
Yeah. I know. We
it's
have a
a
good day. We start early here.
Yeah.
yeah, for responsible reasons.
Responsible
There
So,
you go.
reason.
speaking of wine education, here's a good pivot. So, you named the Wine Consul after, the influence in your life. What exactly is it, and what is your mission?
So the wine console is I don't want to call it a business because I don't like that, but it's let's
Mm,
say it's a way to communicate wine and wine experiences in a way that is like super friendly. I mean, I can read my mission and vision, but that's going to be boring, so I'm just going to summarize it and say
Sure.
my expectation is help people discover lesser known regions,
Hmm.
maybe more obscure grapes. That's my thing. That's my vibe, right?
Hmm.
And
Love
I
that.
try to focus on those regions. Everybody is talking about Burgundy and Bordeaux, exactly, in Bordeaux and everything else. Then here I am being a rebel and trying to showcase all these important but underrated regions that sometimes people forget, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
that's that's what I like to do. So training, wine courses, beverage courses, as you mentioned before.
And I love the perspective of the finding the lesser known regions and the more obscure grapes because that's really where we found a lot of the value. Time
Yeah.
and time again, it's
hmm
not necessarily the major regions where we're thinking, man, this wine at this price, who would have thought? It's usually like the Vino Verde is a good example of one that, maybe gaining in popularity, but not one that I had too much experience with before we tried the one on the show.
Mhm.
So I love that perspective. And is that kind of something you're trying to show people is like there's different value in these areas that you might not have heard of before?
Yeah, when I saw some of the things that you were the email and all the stuff that you were sending me, I found that very interesting because people focus on, oh, I want to learn wine, I want to learn how to taste wine, I want to learn how to buy wine, buy alcohol or wine in a
Mhm.
store, or how to order in a restaurant. Perfect. But they are in their comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
If you're
Hmm.
Yep.
always
For sure.
tasting the same thing, you're
Yes.
never going to develop your palate. So that's
For
something that
sure.
I try to focus on. I want people, like, if you ever go or do any of my tastings or my classes, I am sorry to tell you, but you will never see tasting notes, because
Yeah.
tasting is very subjective, right? And
Mhm.
and the thing is that I don't want to put in your head that this wine has, a memory of blackberries on the nose, because you're
Hmm.
going to immediately sense that. So
Yeah.
kind of
For
like
sure.
I'm trying for people to discover more their palate, explore sensorial experiences, and having fun, because
That's a
the
big
wine
part of
council
it.
That's what it's all
is
about.
part of the diplomacy in wine, right?
Yeah.
Getting
Totally.
Absolutely.
along, talking about regions, but I like the fun facts, and I like the storytelling a lot.
For sure. Yeah. That's one of our favorite things that we have found over the course of doing these shows too is, we'll try to get into a new region and just kind of go down the rabbit hole on the history there. And we talk about this all the time. It's incredible the intertwining of historical events and its impact on wine, and actually the impact that wine had on the historical
Hmm.
events. And it's
Yes.
just, you start seeing how there's just this crazy web of really interesting facts and history out there, and especially in areas that people don't think of all the time too.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
yeah, it's
For
very
sure.
cool. Glad you're bringing that
Yeah.
to the
And the
forefront.
vibe is just so different. Like when you only experience wine, when you take your significant other out for like an anniversary dinner and they hand you the wine list and you're trying not to look like an idiot and until you buy the second cheapest wine on the
Oh my
menu
God,
so
no.
that so you're trying to avoid it. That if that's your only experience with wine, or shoot, I have to buy a bottle of wine because my friend just bought a new house and I don't know what sucks, then wine is intimidating and scary. When wine becomes, once you start going to vineyards and going on wine tours and going to tastings and going in the cellars, and people are just excited to share with you the family history of, like, this is how our family survived prohibition, like this is
Yeah.
how,
Exactly.
this is where the this crazy, field is out in, the slopes of Germany. Like, then wine becomes so much more personable and fun. So it's like you have to have this aspect of it if
Yeah.
you want to get away from just like the snootiness that wine ends up being for so many people out there.
Exactly. And what I like as well, I like to learn a little bit more about those regions I can barely pronounce, And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Croatia has that, right?
Sure.
It's like Germany. I love Germany. I love Austria. I love, Romanian wines,
Yeah.
Georgian wines. And sometimes it's kind of difficult for people,
Mhm.
and that's why they feel intimidated, right? To get into something new that they don't know how to even pronounce. And that's why they feel
Mm.
like
I'm
overwhelmed.
excited about today's wine. There's not enough vowels in any of these words. I
Yeah.
have no idea. There's just
Yeah.
a bunch of consonants next to each other and then a U. So like I'm stoked to hear
Yes,
about this.
yes, it's very interesting. The history of Croatia is kind of like it's been. I think
Mhm.
2013 they became part of the European Union, and I kind of like dove into Croatian wine history a little bit, as I went with the experience with it.
Yeah. And speaking of Croatia, why Croatia? Because we
Oh my
we touched
God!
on it maybe a little bit, but
Exactly. Listen,
that is a wild
my,
country to become a wine expert in.
my original plan was to bring Canadian wines. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, that could have worked. Yeah.
Love that.
But then I thought, okay, how are we going to handle that? So it was hard. And then I thought about a Spanish wine, but then I'm like, I'm gonna leave Jeffrey to that, right? And we
True.
can
Yeah.
do it. We can do
Yeah,
one
Dr.
together
Coleman.
the next time or something like that. I don't know.
I like
Anyway,
that.
just an
Yeah.
idea. Yeah, yeah. And then I thought about Croatia, and I'm like, come on, Ellen, this is what you always talk about for the last 5 years and a half. I've been talking about
Mhm.
Croatian wines in my tasting. I designed a course about Croatian wines. We
But
pretty much
why?
big.
Like how did you get like how did
So
Croatian wine become like your expert area? Like that's
exactly. No,
wild.
no,
Yeah.
it's super weird, and I still ask myself because we get the good comment about that and the bad thing about that. Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you the two things.
Sure.
So when I I saw in social media, I think it was like 6 years ago, and I was like, starting my business or like officially on paper, like registering and all that stuff. And it was a fun thing because I was doing wine tastings for. I was in a mom group with my son. Just he was a newborn, and I just wanted to have a little community, right? Because we
Hmm.
have no one here in the country. So I joined this club, and then I told them, "Oh, we should be, do a wine tasting. Like I'm a wine educator. I can do this." And they were like, "Oh, okay. I'm gonna bring this bottle. I'm gonna bring this." And I'm like, "Why don't we do sparkling?" And it's sparkling from around the world. And I started telling them, you buy this, and we got sect, we got cava, we got corpina, we have champagne, we have franciacorta, name it all.
Nice.
And we even had prosecco. So it was like, okay, this is cool. So and then they told me, and this is kind of like a part of the story how I officially started. And they told me, why you are not charging us for this? And I'm like,
Mm.
I don't know, because you're my mom group, so I wasn't thinking that like we're gonna do this. So it was fun,
Yeah.
and I started doing it more often. And then I was like, oh my god, I want to do something different.
Mm.
So and here
Hmm.
I am looking for something different, right? And I'm like, I don't want to be just tasting what everybody's talking about. Like everybody talks about Burgundy, everybody talks about Barolo. Don't get me wrong, I love them, I
Sure.
Sure.
adore
Yeah.
them, but
They are
I don't want
tasty.
to. Yeah, exactly. They're delicious and super expensive.
Hmm.
And
That they
and then
are.
I was like, I saw a post about an agency here, an importer, saying talking about a particular wine. And I was like, oh, I've never seen that wine before. So I went to the post, I reached out to them, and I'm like, oh, excuse me, what kind of wine is that? I noticed that it's from Croatia, and I knew that Croatia was making wine, but it's not. It's funny because you will see all the courses, and you will
Hmm.
probably find a very small few paragraphs about Croatia in the wine
Hmm.
courses. And it's like,
Sure.
yeah, it's not really that nice that it's not showing like a lot. And then I reach out, they sold a bottle for me, and this was the first Croatian wine that I tasted. Unfortunately,
Ah.
I don't
Ah.
think you have it. So this is what made me fall in love with Croatian wines. So the
Mm.
grape is
Nice.
called Graševina. Oh my God, it's just absolutely amazing grape. And as soon as I had it, I was like, I mean, to start, for the consumer, this is important. Look at the label; it's so pretty, right?
Mm. Yeah.
For
And it
sure.
is one of the
Beautiful.
one of the oldest wineries that you want going to find in Croatia, in the area that is called Slavonia,
Mm.
right? As continental, kind of like in the east side of Croatia. And this is the most popular grape in the entire Croatia. So even in the time of the war, they were
Mm.
separated from former Yugoslavia. So everybody had the little plot in the backyard, and they were just like
Oh
growing
wow.
grapes.
Uh-huh.
And then I was very curious about it. And then when I tried it, I was like, what is this? I
Mm.
was like, what is this? This reminds me a little bit of a Riesling mixed with maybe a Chardonnay from where? And I
Hmm.
was thinking from where? No, maybe a Chablis, I will say. And I was just like making a lot of ideas in my head. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
this is amazing. And I'm like, can I try more? What else do you have? So I started getting a lot of wines from them, and I started trying them. And then they invited me to host a tasting online. It was during COVID, to tasting online and talk about vina. So started
Awesome.
I started doing more research. Obviously, they had a lot of information for me, and the best way was to actually trying the wine. So
Hmm.
that's how I fell in love with Croatian wines, because I started
That's
tasting their
amazing.
wines, and I found that they were so different but so interesting. And the more I tried, and I was like more curious, I want to try them all. But it's kind of difficult. We don't get them all,
Gotcha.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I
Yeah,
what if we all try this wine too, Ellen, and the same thing happens. We all fall in love with Croatian wine,
yeah.
and then Stop Wasting Your Wine becomes a purely Croatian wine
Croatia.
podcast. That's all we talk about.
Oh my
Stop
God.
wasting your Croatian wine.
We'll
and that's
just
just what we do now.
drill down into the niche.
Exactly.
Drill down,
Exactly.
drill down, drill
Real
down.
hard.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing a bit about just kind of, the Wine Consul, how you got into Croatian wine, your backstory. I want to hit you with rapid fire fun questions, and then we're going to
Okay.
get into the wine. So here we
I'm the
go.
first. Mine's a
Yeah,
two-parter. Ready?
hit it.
So without thinking too much about this, what is your absolute favorite wine? And then what's your favorite cheap wine?
It's so hard. It's so hard, and I've been thinking about it for a week, no, or more than that, all my life. I'm like, because I have so many favorites that I can talk about, and that I
It's hard to
always get
choose one.
in my cellar. Well, number one, it will be something that I get all the time, and it's in my
Mhm,
cellar. Is the Grashevina. It
mhm.
has to
Mm-hmm.
be a Plavac, right, from many of the producers from Croatia. The other favorite that I have is Priorat. I love Catalonia.
Oh
I
yeah,
love that. So I
one of the
need to
best.
have Priorat. Am I saying too many? Because I was
No,
No.
about
no,
to
that's
say
No,
great.
no. Everything's good.
Assyrtiko from Santorini in Greece,
Mm,
Georgitico as well,
That's awesome.
Nemea. I love Greek wines a lot.
mm,
And
mhm.
then I will say my cheap favorite wine. Maybe a Prosecco Rosé. I can remember the producer right now, but it was like
Ooh.
beautiful. And
Mm-hmm.
I have my things about Prosecco, but then I attended a trade event and I was like, oh, wait a second. Prosecco is doing
Mhm,
something these days. And it was like,
mhm.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
agree.
Definitely one of those ones that has like a stigma with it, right? But then, yeah, there's actually some
Yeah,
really
exactly.
nice. And then my quick question for you too is just, do you have a hot take, a wine hot take that you want to put out there? Something controversial, maybe, that you might think about the wine, the state of wine.
Oh, something controversial. I love sediments.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh,
Wine snobs will be killing me right now. They will be like, "Oh, come on, you have to remove them." Yes, of course you have to remove them, but sometimes they're so tasty and nice that when I'm decanting, I just leave a little bit, and if I have a little
that
bit
is
on
a
the
hot
glass,
take.
I am just gonna drink them.
You'll drink it in
You
the
know,
That's
sip.
awesome.
That is a
Ah,
hot take.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
I
is
mean, they're not gonna
That's
kill
one
you.
white
It's not
hot
like
take.
you're.
Drink your
Yeah, drink your
sediments. It's
exactly
vitamins.
protein. It's not.
that's right.
It's not like it's gonna kill you. It's pretty much, sediments is that yeast
uh,
ideas and all that stuff.
Yeah.
If we drink these wines that are called on the list, right, it's dead yeast,
mhm,
and we still
mhm,
drink it.
Yep.
Another thing will
Mm-hmm.
be about the tasting notes that I mentioned at the beginning.
mhm,
I'm against tasting notes on a tasting for me. Like if I am
mhm.
hosting a tasting and I will start talking, okay, this wine has this. It's so boring.
Yeah.
And when you're studying
For sure.
Mm.
WSET, I mean, I love WSET, don't get me wrong, but
Mhm.
I find that sometimes it's like, and people will
Very
kill me about
focused.
that too. It's kind of like, have you seen the horses that they put something on top of
Yeah.
you and they,
The
that's
Blinders.
the
Yeah.
only
blinders.
way you have to see it is
Yeah.
right there.
You just get
So this
Yeah.
stuck
is
there.
medium
Yeah.
plus, or you're wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
like,
Funny.
okay, what about what I feel? I mean, I
Right.
don't have to
Hmm.
really
Yeah.
agree all the time because, as I mentioned before, tasting is very subjective for me. So
Sure.
that's something that,
You'll see that on our show all the
Yeah.
time because I'll be like, "This is like a light body wine," and Colin will be like, "This is a full body wine." So like it's our
exactly.
Well,
experience,
well,
or I'm just
I
Or
love
maybe
though
you're
when
confused.
like yeah, that could be the case too.
I'm just
I,
kidding.
I love though too, kind of I guess the opposite side of that too though is and for better or worse, like we'll kind of do that to each other too. We'll be, smelling or tasting
Hmm.
and somebody will say, "Oh, a little blueberry." And then we'll be like, "Oh yeah, we didn't find that. Oh yeah, totally." And
Yeah.
all of a sudden that's all we
Well,
can
and that's
see.
and that's fine. But the idea is that you
mm-hmm.
discover it, not
Right.
really the som or the educator there giving you the full on
Yeah.
tasting note.
Yeah.
Because, and the other thing, fire question here, over here, points
Yeah.
and
Oh,
ranking.
Oh
yes. We're
yeah,
right
yeah.
with you on that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, ranking
Yeah.
for me is like there's this guy, and hopefully he doesn't listen this because he's in Italy. His name is Luca Maroni, and I don't know if you ever go to a wine store one of these days and you find a wine
Mhm.
from Italy that has like a golden sticker on the top of the bottle, and it says Luca
Uh-huh.
Maroni is going to say 99 points
Mm,
Oh, he's
Every
every
pointing
time.
them
time,
out
and I'm
now.
like,
is that so funny?
Merlot Rosé base, and it's like 99 points, and I'm like,
Yeah.
seriously, guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Maroney, if you listen to the show,
Just don't listen.
thank you. Please keep listening. And we have some questions about your rating system. Feel free to come
Yeah,
on the
let's
show and
talk
explain
about
it to
it.
us. We'd love to have
We'll
you.
have Ellen back too. We'll duke it out.
Yeah, this is called
Yeah.
covering your bases.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, hey, listen, that's so much fun. Thank you again. Love hearing people's thoughts and takes on things. But I think it's about time we get into this wine a little bit here. So we'll move into just kind of our normal process here, y'all. What you can expect here is we're gonna learn a little bit about this Croatian wine. Ellen's gonna tell us a little bit more about what we're drinking. We're going to do our smells and our sips. Ellen's also kindly going to walk us through a little bit of a learning segment today. And then we'll give our review. And if there's a little time left, we might even play a quick game with Ellen.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. I love that. I love games.
Oh,
Good
perfect.
stuff.
All right. Perfect.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, then, Ellen, again, thank you so much for bringing this Croatian wine to us. Can you tell everybody listening a little bit more about what we're drinking?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so the one that we chose for today, I mean, we should have chosen two wines, but anyways, that's fine. I'm just kidding. Why
The
did
more the
we
merrier.
choose a red Croatian wine? Is because this grape, I will say, is the most planted red grape in Croatia, right?
Okay.
So what we're tasting it is Plavac Mali. The producer that we're drinking today is Zlatan Otok. Okay, forgive my Croatian for the
Zlatan
Croatian
Otok.
listeners. Okay, don't kill me. They can be
Sounds good
very
to me.
particular. They can be very particular. By
Got it.
experience, I'm telling
Oh,
you.
okay.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But anyways, so Plavac Mali, what exactly is Plavac Mali? So Plavac Mali has a DNA right behind the scenes. So I don't know if you ever heard about the grape Zinfandel, which I think you already tried somewhere
I've
before.
tried a couple.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Right. We talked about how
Mhm.
genetically, right? What was it? Zinfandel is the same as
Primitivo.
Primitivo, exactly,
Primitivo, right?
exactly.
Yep.
So yeah, exactly. So it's like Primitivo, then what you're going to find is that Plavas Mali is this beautiful red grape. That Plavas Mali, what it means is small blue, right? A small blue, that's what it
Okay.
means. And it thrives in the region on the Dalmatian region. So if you kind of like know where things are around in Croatia, you're going to find that you have the Dalmatian coast. And I have this thing about Mediterranean wines. I love the minerality that I can find, all this, kind of like saline notes. Reminds me the ocean, the sea breeze, right? And then Plavas Mali, I find that is very interesting. Is kind of masculine, okay? When you taste it, masculine.
Masculine
Yeah, yeah,
wine.
yeah. So it loves the hot Mediterranean climate, rocky and poor soil. And when we talk about poor soil, we're talking about that soil that is going to make the vine struggle, right? And when the vine is struggling, instead of focusing on producing a bunch of grapes, right? Is focused on producing those little small grapes that are super concentrated, and that's the reason why we're going to find whenever we see the wine is like we don't see our finger. You guys tell me, do you see your finger?
No.
Are you able to see your
A
finger?
little
Interesting.
bit,
A little bit.
Yeah.
but it is
Yeah.
very dark
It
for
is
sure.
very dark. So that means the
Yeah.
concentration is very high.
I don't want it to hold us up from getting our noses into this wine. I do want to ask. So there was just this is a slightly more expensive bottle than we often get. I mean, it's not an expensive bottle of wine by far, but this runs around $35. So a lot of time in the show we're usually knocking from 15 to I would say like $29.99 is usually where we're looking. But $35 and ABV of about 14%. So
Yeah,
you know, uh,
14% exactly. 14. So a little bit of the technicalities of the grape will be late ripening, low yielding grape varieties. So definitely the focus is more on the quality and the small plots instead of the huge, massive ones. And that's something that determines the price of what we're spending today, right? And then of course we have Plavas Mali on the region. So imagine the slopes where the vineyards are super steep. There's no way for
love
machines
that.
to ever do the harvesting, so you have to do
Yeah.
it by hand. So that is going to be another thing why this wine is so expensive, right? So
Yeah.
small producer, family owned, historical vineyards, and that's what Ellen likes. Sorry.
Hey,
Yeah,
I
nothing
love
No,
wrong
it.
but
with
that's
that.
great.
I have a feeling we're all
I'd
gonna
much
like it.
rather have that than
Yeah.
yeah, I'd much rather have that than like mass produced robot collected. I
Same.
remember early on we were talking about like drones and
Yeah.
robots. Like it's like, nah, just give me a small vineyard with that cool little train that goes up the side of the hill that people have to get out and like hand harvest.
Yeah,
That's
no,
cool.
no, no. But the thing is that today we're trying 100% Plavac Mali, and Plavac Mali has this beautiful personality, kind of masculine, kind of obscure. Even the color, whenever you see it, is just like higher alcohol. When you tilt your glass and you see the legs formating right there,
Yeah,
sometimes people say, "Oh yeah, I love the legs because that means it's good quality." Wrong.
Right.
that's
Is
right.
the alcohol
That's
level, viscosity, and the sugar
yep.
levels as well in terms of the flavor profile? You tell me what you feel about this wine. How do
Yeah.
you?
Should we go ahead and give this thing a
Yeah.
try? Let's get
No,
our
Let's
let's
give
give
it
noses
a
it a
in
Yeah.
try.
smell.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Tastes like wine.
Yeah. That's just so interesting. There's something familiar and brand new about it, and I'm trying to figure all that out. So, Ellen, I know you could probably tell us so much about this. I want to see what Colin and Aaron, you guys are kind of picking up before we have the expert share with us. So, Colin, anything that you're picking up, and anything you're thinking?
Well, you said familiar and different, and I
Hmm.
think for me, there's an herbal note in there,
Very
but
good.
I can't tell you what those herbs are.
Good.
Like that's the different part.
They're in the back of the
That's the
pantry.
different part
The
for me.
stuff I bought it for one recipe 10 years ago and I
Yeah,
only used a pinch and they're still back
there's
there.
a
Okay.
clear kind of herbal note, but what what it is, I'm not sure.
Sure,
Okay.
Aaron.
You kind of warned us against this at the very beginning when you were like, I don't want to use notes because I don't want to put anything in
No, but I
anyone's
can
head. But
help you
as soon
with
as you
some
said
of the
Zinfandel,
herbs that you're feeling right now. It's kind of like those
yeah.
Mediterranean herbs, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, some of those
maybe
herbs, but it's
oregano.
also like I I'm getting the
You're
Zinfandel
getting the.
aspect
Oh,
of it,
okay.
like right off the bat. And I'm also like a cab frankiness of just like that spicier, and maybe it's also you got that high alcohol. I'm getting a little bit of alcohol in the nose,
A little bit.
off the top. But yeah, it's like this warm scent to it that I'm really
So
enjoying.
definitely.
yeah.
It's that masculine scent.
Anybody else wants to talk about what you're feeling when you're tasting, smelling this wine?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Joel, do you
mean,
have anything?
well, I would just say maybe the thing too that's on the familiar side is, definitely some cherry in there, and definitely, I can't decide if I want to say more. I was gonna say earthy up front, but I don't think that's right. I think it's that
No, no, no.
minerality
No,
in
it's
there.
great. It's great.
Yeah.
You're combining all these elements that
Mm,
the ocean breeze is bringing to the
mm,
Dalmatian coast, right?
hmm.
And keep in mind that the soil there is going to be that kind of like a stone, like a rock,
Mm,
right? Like
hmm.
rocky. So that is going to absorb a lot of water, and it's going to save a lot of water. So it kind of like going to make the vine struggle
Sure.
concentrating on the
Hmm.
nutrients, on the lack of water, and everything
Hmm.
else. So you're going to get all this soil minerality type, and the ocean breeze is going to influence that kind of salinity feeling that you taste.
Sure. Yeah.
That is also will be Mediterranean herbs. There's a lot of them, so I will agree with the oregano.
Hmm.
I will agree. What about flowers? Do you feel any flowers on the nose?
Yeah, for sure. There's kind of like this wild, not white flowers per se, but kind of this wildflower vibe to it. Um,
Okay.
Almost greener on the greener
Yep.
side, I would say.
Hmm.
The flowers, almost like floral stems, if that makes sense. It's not necessarily
Oh, I love that.
the petals, but the stems.
Yep.
And then the fruit, I would also say there's maybe some blue fruit in there. I would agree with cherry, but like I'm also like blueberry kind of sticking out for me.
I will say blackberries, blueberries,
Blackberry, I love,
Hmm.
yeah, blackberry
Hmm.
for sure, 100%.
right?
And then the other thing is, as this wine, I know I was reading, I browsed the spec sheet. I know this is aged in giant oak casks, but
Yes.
no new oak, right?
No,
If I'm
they
okay,
try to. I mean, if it's French oak, then definitely the price will be even higher. right? That's gonna make the wine even more expensive. What they do is big wooden barrels, and they use something that is called inox tanks. So those are like kind of similar to the stainless steel tanks.
Oh,
If I'm
okay.
not mistaken, right?
Sure.
So the first
Okay.
process when you're making wine is that the fermentation process and all that stuff. They put the juice on a stainless steel tank at low temperatures, and then they transfer the juice to something else, depending on the producer. Now, keep in mind that Zlatan, they are very, very traditional. So that's the good thing about Croatia. They're bringing back all the old traditions from before, because before the I don't there was no, there was kind of like a prohibition as well. The period of time
Ah,
where wine was only made for the state. Remember for the time of the Yugoslavia,
wow.
and I think
Yeah.
we're fine talking about that here. Nobody's gonna feel like, oh, don't talk about that, right?
Sure.
So former Yugoslavia, the wine was produced only for the state, and definitely there was no focus on the quality.
Mm,
And now, after the European Union and the enforcement of the European Union laws, which are some in a way they are good, right? Because they are making sure that the quality of the wines are
Quality
exactly,
control
exactly,
across a larger
exactly
region.
from
Yeah.
region to region, even though they have their own set of regulations in Croatia. So that's the beauty of it. They are now focused on their market, but the thing is that we see very few Croatian wines hitting international markets. The
mhm.
majority of the Croatian wines stay home because they consume a lot of Croatian wines. And for example, the Graševin that I talked to you about at the beginning, it was made in the backyards of the houses, and families were drinking it for like an everyday wine.
All right, guys. Before we move into the tasting, though, I do want to. I want to call myself out. I'm mad at myself because Ellen, when you mentioned flowers, I took a sniff and in my brain I went, I'm kind of getting roses, and I'm like, no, that's dumb. Roses is dumb. That's just a flower. Like it's the only flower you've smelt. And so I didn't say it. And then I started reading the back. Look at the back of the bottle, guys. Look at the back of the bottle. Look at the winemaker's own description of the scent of this.
Ah.
Oh, rose petals. Okay.
It's like, damn it, I could have been a star.
Wow.
But yeah, I got
Oh,
roses. I
that's
got
fun.
roses on
Oh
this.
my goodness,
I,
that's
I could have
amazing.
been very impressive, but I wasn't. I wimped out.
Well, now you made me read the notes, and now it's going to totally influence what I taste
Yeah,
here.
that's
Yep.
right.
Ah, God, just like we blew it.
All I
But yeah,
taste
but
is
cool. Like
It's okay. I mean, sometimes it's good. The notes are good for whenever we are not able to find the right word, right? But
Sure.
we
sure.
all have, like here, we all have different set of memories in our
Hmm.
on our in our head, right? Like
Yeah.
in Latin America, for example, when I moved to Canada, I was like smelling things, and I'm like, what is this? Like I had no idea what a dragon fruit was like, because we
Sure.
don't we
Right.
don't
That's a
grow
whole
that.
nother thing, right? Like it's
Yeah.
a whole different, flavor structures, foods that are popular in certain areas that we
Yeah,
would never experience here. That's just a whole nother dynamic.
yeah,
And someone like me who's only eaten Eggo waffles.
so for me, that those aromas were like super not familiar, right? So I was like,
Yeah.
what is all this? Like I have to explore, and you have to smell, you have to taste. And whenever you are not able to to get it, then you can ask somebody, or you can
Sure.
read on the nose like you just did right now. You're forgetting a fruit here. So we mentioned
Hmm.
blackberries, blueberries. We also mentioned the Mediterranean herbs, a little bit
Herbs.
of thyme, a little bit
yeah.
of,
Yeah, don't hate
right?
that.
You feel the thyme all over the place. I don't know if you're
Definitely.
enjoying it, but
Yeah.
this is a beautiful producer. The other thing that I don't know if you catch on the tasting, but maybe
Hmm.
it's gonna show up when we revisit the wine in a little bit,
Hmm.
right? If you want to revisit it.
Yeah.
There's another fruit that is used in charcuterie a lot.
Ooh.
Do
Okay.
you smell that?
Well, let's give it a taste and see if we can taste it, because sometimes it shows up on the palate.
I think I might know where you're going with this, Ellen.
What do you got, Joel? Put your money where your mouth is, son.
It's a little apricot in there, maybe.
Yes, and also fig.
I was gonna say fig. I was gonna say figs.
See, you wimped out. You didn't learn anything from the rose petal story.
I did. I was gonna say fig. I agree. I totally agree. Wonderful.
So when I connected a little bit early, and I forgot, I'm really sorry about not warning you about decanting the wine before. right? Because if you all notice what we're doing right now,
Oh
right?
yeah, the
Yep.
the tannin is
The
tannining.
tanning is hitting us all, and it's great. I
For
love
sure.
a good tanning structure.
Yes.
That's something that I really enjoy because it tells me this wine is great for aging, right? It's gonna be able
Mm-hmm.
to develop really well. In I'm
Totally.
not gonna give it 10 years because no,
Right.
but maybe I will say a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
right?
But
Hundred
this
percent.
is a 2019 off the shelf, right? Which and
Hmm.
that's always fun to see.
Yeah.
So it's like
For
right
sure.
off the bat, we see that a lot with a lot of the Riojas we've tried on the show. It's always nice when like it's not even getting to the consumer until it has been around for
Yes.
5 6 years.
What else are we sensing here?
Anybody? Yeah. Anything else anybody's getting?
I was gonna say the only other flavor note I'm picking up after tasting it is like kind of a black pepper kind of thing. Other than that, I think we kind of nailed it. We kind of stumbled through it, but
There's a lot. I mean, it's a
there was a
complex
lot. There's a
wine,
lot
so
going on. There's a
there's a
lot
lot
going
going
on.
For
on.
sure.
And
For
just
sure.
like name at the end, like just the structure of the wine, like
Mhm.
it's a big wine. It's bold. It's a lot of body. It's a lot of tannins. But it's
The
with all
alcohol.
that being said, like it's a relatively high alcohol wine. But once you're getting into it, like I don't feel like I'm getting punched in the face with the alcohol as we have with some other 14% wines.
Agreed.
So
Totally.
it feels like while it's really big and really full and relatively high alcohol, it's balanced.
It maybe because too, I think the acid is just right. And I would say it's not heavy acid. It's probably like middle somewhere, but it's so dry too. It's
Yeah.
such a nice
Hmm.
dry wine that I think maybe is balancing out a little bit of how heavy it could be if it wasn't
Right.
so dry. But
Mhm.
they balance it perfectly in that regard.
Right.
Usually, the structure of the acidity of the Plavac Mali is not necessarily going to be high, even though
Hmm.
it's in the is in the mountains in the Dalmatian
Hmm.
coast. They're kind of like I can't even imagine that how high how big they are, but
Hmm.
steep slopes kind of like this where you can
Hmm.
really need to climb to collect the
I want to
grapes.
go so bad.
So, oh,
Hmm.
me too. I'm dying to
I want to
go.
go.
Let's get invited by Wines of Croatia.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're,
let's
we're,
do
we're
it.
gonna we're gonna
Saying out
tag
Absolutely.
the
loud.
heck out of them in this
Oh
episode
yeah,
and be
please.
like,
So we can get an invite next time.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no. And the other thing is that remember because of the exposure of the sun,
Hmm.
right? 2,000 and something hours
mm.
per year. Beautiful, beautiful.
Hmm.
Mediterranean and everything. So the growing season is going to be I don't want to say faster, but it's going to
Hmm.
be well properly, ripening,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And in the levels of acidity going to kind of drop a little bit, and
Hmm.
then the rest is going to be like high alcohol, full body, high tannins, as you can feel and or perceive,
Hmm.
because those things are perceptions. And
Mhm.
then I don't know if you're able to find something else, or you
Hmm.
want to chat about what will you eat
Ooh.
with this
Oh,
wine.
I'll eat
Oh,
anything
I
with this one.
some. There's so much that would go well with this. Red meat, any kind of meat would be fine. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Anything. Barbecue would be great.
Barbecue, yeah.
I was gonna say I had a really big burger for dinner tonight, and I kind of wish I can go back in time with this wine,
Ah.
and that would have been
Oh my God, you're missing
that.
your moments.
I know that would have been. So, I'm just gonna have to eat another burger tomorrow. Oh
Oh,
boy!
there you go.
If
That's
my
really good.
doctor is listening, I'm sorry.
I'm kidding.
was
Now,
there another important note in there, Ellen, that you think we should be picking up on?
I'm still feeling all the Mediterranean herbs on my
Yeah.
nose.
Definitely.
Definitely big time. Racing is starting to get around there, like super dry. Racing's like dry
Hmm.
fruit,
Hmm.
sage,
Sage, love
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
I was gonna
Hmm.
say that earlier too.
right? It's like you're cooking something, but you're drinking it instead.
Totally. No, all those Mediterranean. I think that's what
Hmm.
sticks out even more so than the fruit in this wine. I think it is absolutely herbal driven, and that's what you get
Definitely.
up front.
And a hint that I can give you when you're tasting wine and you have no idea what you're tasting at the beginning.
Talk to me.
This is how I learn, okay? Because at the beginning I was like tasting a wine, and I'm like, what the hell is this? This the only thing I feel is like all the perceptions, right? The tannin, the structure,
Mm.
the acidity, the alcohol, and then it's like, what else? So the first sip is not going to give you the necessary information that you need.
Mm.
What you need
Hmm.
to do is kind of like make your palate getting used to the wine on the first sip, and then on the second you're going to start developing more what this is about, right? Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
kind of like when they say swish the wine around your mouth, it's kind of gross, right? you're super salivating there and doing all the stuff in your mouth, but you're like preparing your palate for it. And then you start getting all the flavors. You were just describing all the notes and everything, and you did it alone. You don't need me here. Bye. No,
No, we need you here.
I'm just
Those are
kidding.
great.
Not yet. Not yet. Well, the fruit. It's not really that much fruit that I can talk about. I feel more the herbs, more the minerality, more the salinity. Now, when people say minerality, they keep asking me, "Oh, it's like a rock or something," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna be going around licking rocks, right? To feel to have that perception of minerality,
Sure.
but kind of like that, right? There's
This
some
must be why I
wines.
haven't figured it out yet. All I've been doing is licking rocks.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another episode that you need to work on, licking rocks.
Colin.
That would be a good
You
idea.
guys are supposed to point me in the right direction. What the hell?
I think this is gonna be one of those interesting ones. We always kind of, we'll try and then we'll go and we'll talk about other stuff and then we'll come back to it. Sometimes things have changed a lot and it's really fun to see how that happens. Sometimes they haven't. I think this will be a really cool one to come back to in a minute.
Mhm.
So maybe what we should do for a little bit is go into our learning segment, and Ellen has graciously prepared the 5 things you need to know about Croatian wine.
This is the only thing you will learn.
Okay, 5 things that you need to remember about Croatian wines is obviously you need to try them. They have more than 130 indigenous grape varieties, which I mentioned at the beginning, but it's kind of
So
hard to
many.
find them all.
That's awesome.
I
So
would imagine.
these are not going to be grown anywhere else in the world. So can you imagine those grapes that they don't have a vowel that you don't know how to pronounce?
Sure.
That's Croatia. Oh, yeah.
HVRZTL. Drink it's delicious.
Point number 2 is Zinfandel's homeland. Okay, so Croatia is what we call the genetic birthplace of Zinfandel,
Oh.
right? So
Never knew that. Yeah.
Neither did
yeah,
I.
yeah, yeah, and we know it as Primitivo in
Mhm.
Puglia in Italy,
Mhm.
right? So it's grape known locally as Sergenaca Selansky, as I mentioned before, or Tribrida, 3B drag. I always get mixed up on that. 3B drag, yeah, 3B drag, right? So that's the original clone that made its way to California, and that's how Zinfandel became super popular, especially in Lodi, and is the parent of Primitivo in Italy. Okay.
Wow.
Fascinating.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Perfect. Ready for point number 3?
Oh yeah, bring it.
Yeah. Perfect. So extreme terroir, there's something that they have in the majority of the regions, some of the greatest regions in Croatia, but especially in the Dalmatian coast. So steep slopes and that kind of karst limestone soil. So some of the best wines, so I'm talking about Plavac Mali, right? They come from these terrace vineyards. They're steep, sun baked slopes, along the coast, and they grow really well on the protected regions of Dingash and Poshut. And then they have a lot of sunlight. The sea breezes that I was telling you about, that is going to, help you understand
Mhm.
why this wine is so powerful, complex, with super high minerality, right? And when we talk about minerality, it's kind of like think about the salt and the pepper that we were mentioning in the notes. Make sense?
Totally.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Perfect. Point number 4, yeah, let's focus on the Plavac Mali, the small blue that I was telling you about. So small blue is a translation of Plavac Mali. So this is in reference to the tiny, very thick skinned berry, right? It's the grape. So it's going to be this natural crossing that we mentioned before, Sergenak and Slansky, aka Zinfandel and Dobricic. And this is going to be producing is all this bold, tannic, super red wine with the notes that you already mentioned. Some of you mentioned rose stems, like the Bachelor,
Ooh.
Mediterranean herbs.
That's why Colin
Like,
thought of that.
yeah,
Huge fan.
Mediterranean herbs that we mentioned. What else did we say? Fruits like figs,
Figs,
dried
yeah, for
apricots,
sure.
right?
Yep.
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 And they are most of the time high in alcohol and built for aging. So yeah, that's what I will definitely say. Keep it, celebrate, and of course, it's gonna be amazing. Point number 5, I love how Croatia became a combination of both modern and traditional styles of winemaking processes. So they brought back the amphora winemaking. There's still in Dalmatia, we have the Pelgesac Peninsula, and in Istria, some of the major producers, what they're doing is that they're reviving the ancient amphora. The amphora is not going to impart really any flavors on the wine that are big, are going to preserve the actual fruit. So more the style, the style or the personality of the grape, right?
I was gonna try to do a recap, but there was like, it was so much information. I was like, number one was like a whole bunch of grapes you can only get there. Number
Native.
two was Zinfandel's daddy.
Yeah.
Right? What was number three? What was number three? I
Oh, you
blanked on
forgot
number
number
three.
three, extreme
forgot.
terroir.
Oh, I know. I was excited about that one. I lost because I was like Extreme Terroir. And number four was super concentrated little blue grapes.
Yes.
And then number five was bringing it back to old school.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's an amazing list of just things to know about Croatian wine, and I feel like that combined with just everything we've been talking
Oh
about.
my God, yeah.
So just I feel like I've learned so much, and I always love to kind of see how the things that we learn also translate into the next time that we try the wine. So I think from this point, should we go back, see if there's anything else anybody wants to call out, and then let's put our review on this thing.
Yeah, totally.
I see we're all having our revisiting sips here. Anybody wants to call out? Any changes over the last 15 or so?
Anybody wants to say that this is tasting more like a dark chocolate wine?
Do you know what's funny? I wasn't going to say dark chocolate, but I was going to say I feel like it's more of the red fruits poking through a little bit, and maybe just fruits in general as it's airing out a little bit.
So kind of
Yeah.
soften.
Yeah.
And I was like aromatically, it's just kind of opened up very nicely, and I feel like when I'm sticking my nose in, I'm getting the same sense that we named before, but with different levels of, the different scents are coming out more than they were previously. So it's just kind of like the balance and the way it's kind of opened up has changed to be just rather nice, but just like really aromatic.
Did you find that it was kind of like more structured, silkier, softer?
Definitely softer. Definitely softer.
Because at the beginning, I don't know if you noticed that we were like, from
Yeah.
the tannins, right? We were like
Yep.
fucking our
Yeah, but in a really nice way. Like I didn't dislike
Definitely.
the tans in the beginning, right? Like I said,
Yeah.
it wasn't one of those like wines that I sipped and went, oh God, like, and had the mouth
Yeah.
freeze up. So they were
Agreed.
intense, but it's kind of gotten to a place I think more people would enjoy.
Yeah.
For sure.
Agreed.
I don't disagree.
I think we've learned a whole bunch. I think we've called out a lot of amazing things here. You guys think it's time to go ahead and give this thing our review?
Yeah, but did they like it? It's time for the review.
So, Ellen, it's a tradition on the show. We let the person who brought the bottle in be the last to review.
Oh.
So we'll give our thoughts and then give you the honor of the last review. And then, Aaron, can you remind everybody at home? We were talking earlier about how we really don't like the point system, so we've never bought into that. Aaron, remind everybody how we rate our wines very quickly, please.
Yeah, Ellen, to us, wine is all about who you're with and the experience of the wine. So we don't like numbers on this show. So if the wine is no good, it's a drain wine. Just don't drink it. It's bad. Dump it down the drain. Backup wines are wines that are, you might like it. It's whatever. It's fine. If you have to drink it, we wouldn't recommend it, but okay, go for it. Wines that are casual sippers, those are wines that they're fine. They might be okay. You might love it. It might be one to keep around the house. It might be, just a wine that you enjoy. It might not be one to like show off to other folks, but hey, you like it, you drink it. The must shares are the wines that we're really shooting for on the show. Those are the wines that not only do we think are high quality, but we're wines that we encourage you to share with other people, to bring to dinner, to give as gifts. And of course, the top tier is our wine fridge wines. We all have our metaphorical wine fridge that only has 3 spots, and those are our 3 favorite wines that we've reviewed. If you find a new wine that you review that you love, you have to kick a wine out to hold on. We had Joel put our Amastoy rosé in his fridge last week, so that was a big deal.
Huge deal.
Yeah.
Ellen, your wine fridge is empty, so if you love this thing, go ahead and toss it in. We all have full wine fridges this time, so that's where we are. Colin, would you like to start off? Where is this? How are you experiencing this wine?
Yeah, for sure. So for me, this is an absolute must share. I think it is a great bottle of wine. One, my wife loved it. So that's points just right off the bat.
Always a good sign.
Always a good sign. But beyond that, I love a wine with an herbal edge, which I think this has. That can be not necessarily what everybody's into. So I could see you not necessarily liking this wine, especially if you like your big bold Napa cabs and stuff like that, where you're just getting a ton of that fruit. This does have some fruit in it, but this wine is definitely herbal driven. But that being said, it's super complex. I think it's super well structured. The structure makes it really enjoyable to drink. I bring this up on wines I like, but I like a wine that structurally brings you on a ride, and this absolutely does that. It has a nice tannin, but it's got enough acidity. Probably medium plus body, just really overall nice wine to drink. And again, that herbal edge really does it for me, because I love that in a wine, and I think this wine has it. So absolute must share.
Aaron, how about you?
I love any time we unlock a new aisle at the wine store. I love it. And to me, this is an absolute must share. I love a big, bold, tannic wine. I love the structure. I love the taste. This is, again, we're like, oh God, $35. It's $10 more than we normally spend. In the grand scheme of things, this is a very affordable bottle of wine. It is a very tasty bottle of wine. It's an awesome story. It's something that is edgy and exciting. So this is, you want to bring over a bottle of red wine to dinner, to share with friends. Grab a bottle of Croatian red. Grab this bottle. Great conversation. Yeah, great.
First, that's right.
Yeah, decant it. Great conversation starter and a good bottle. So must share, absolutely, for me.
Love it.
Joel.
Joel?
I think I have gone from maybe having the dustiest wine fridge to maybe having the most revisited wine fridge in the shortest amount of time.
What the heck?
Whoa.
I think I'm going to go ahead. Also, I might have the shortest lived bottle in there because I loved that rosé last week. But I'm enjoying this a little bit more than that one. So I don't know how I can sit here and not replace that one. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. And
Salute and goodbye to the Mestoy
Thanks for
Rosé,
coming.
which great
Which-
bottle.
It's been a fun week.
a reminder, we hold all of our previous wine fridge wines in extremely high regard. We need to do
100%.
something
Absolutely.
to
No doubt.
highlight all of those that have been either in or were
They all have a
previously in
pension
the wine
plan.
fridge.
They'll be remembered forever.
Big time. They are well taken care of and well respected on this show. But yeah,
we're
I think I
we're
gotta
gonna
do it.
take the front off of your wine fridge and we're gonna replace it with a revolving door.
I think I might need that at this point. We might have to calm down a little bit on that. But yeah, here's the thing. I didn't know that this kind of profile really existed. And the reason that this is going in my wine fridge is it was an obvious must share just because of how cool it is. But then this is personally, and I know we try to keep, just our personal taste out of things a little bit, but like this is right down the aisle of the way not only that I want a wine to be, but like the way that we cook and eat. Like we are, super just olive oil, lemon, very Mediterranean kind of thing. And like this is hitting all of those notes. This is exactly what we like to eat to begin with. And like you were calling out too, Colin, just the balance of the acidity and the dryness and the tannins, the way it changed over time, the way that we were so thoughtful about it in the beginning and remained that way 30 minutes later, just so cool to me. So, and enjoyed it the whole way through every iteration. It wasn't like, ooh, I think this is going to be good at any point. It was like, no, this is really interesting and good. And it's continuing to be good and different. So those are all my
That's how
reasons.
you become addicted
going in
to
there.
Croatian wines, like me.
100%. 100%.
And Joe,
I get it
hats
now.
off to you overcoming your own, ethnocentric biases, because you texted us before this episode and you were like, I don't think I'm going to like this wine. He literally, I'm going to post the text with this
I love
episode
it. Yeah,
because he just saw there was Croatian wine. He was like, I'm not going to like this. And
To be fair, I said, I don't think I'm going to like it, but I hope to be pleasantly surprised. And I was.
And you were. And it's
good.
in your
I
wine
love
fridge.
that. I
So
love it.
Ellen, well done. You have 2 must shares in the wine fridge. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is amazing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to influence a purchase here, but this is amazing because we need to get out of our comfort zone and drink something different and something more like exotic, obscure, different, edgy, like you
Sure.
mentioned. I just love the descriptions that you mentioned. For me, unfortunately, this is a wine that is always in my fridge. So it's a white fridge for sure.
It just
But
happens to be is a wine
yeah, but
in
the
my
thing is
fridge.
that
It's a
the
wine
thing is
fridge.
that you need to keep in mind that it's a must share. Like you have to share to
100%.
others that this is a great region to visit, right? You don't have to spend the big bucks. There's other producers that maybe they won't be that higher on the quality and stuff. They can be more commercial, right? And yeah, maybe
Sure.
not spending so much money.
Oh, great,
I love
great
it.
find.
Yeah.
Great
I love
find.
it.
Yeah,
Yep.
awesome one. Awesome
Big
one.
time. Oh, so much fun. This has been so good. Not just because I found
I
another
know it
wine
is.
fridge, but just the whole thing has been so great. Hey, what do you say? Do we have time for a quick game before we let you go, Ellen? You down for that?
Sure,
Ah, awesome. Okay.
I'm
Wine
in
with
for
that.
it. Kenny's already
Excellent.
sleeping.
You're wine with that?
I love
I'm
it.
having
Love it.
wine on Tuesday, so this is amazing.
Yeah, isn't that nice? I
That's
know,
the
right?
attitude that we look for
Yeah.
on this show. Are you good to hang around? Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
drinking on a Tuesday. Let's go.
love it.
Well, I know what's not to love. All right, so I think today we're gonna play one of our favorite games here. We say that about every game, don't we? But no, this is
All our
this is
games are
a
great.
fan favorite. We're gonna play a little pick your poison. So if you've ever played Would You Rather, it may feel very familiar. But pick your poison. So and I believe Aaron, you have our pick your poison today. Go ahead and hit us, man.
I do, sent in by one of our many listeners.
Ooh,
Here's
nice.
our pick your poison. Here we
Okay.
go. Pick your poison. Drink a highly rated or scored wine from a less celebrated wine country or lesser known region, or a highly rated or scored wine from a less region.
Oh, how apropos.
I know. I thought so too.
Quite.
I thought
Quite.
so too.
Okay.
I'd like to jump in.
Okay, so it's highly rated, but from a
Yeah.
region nobody knows about, or unrated, but from like Burgundy.
Right. You're drinking.
And
Are you drinking
expensive,
a?
though, too. It's
Yeah. Are you
unrated
drinking
and
a?
expensive.
Are you drinking an unrated $150 bottle of wine of Burgundy, or you're drinking a 100-point bottle from Croatia?
I'm
taking
going
Croatia
with
every
the
day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
and not just because you
I
said
mean,
Croatia.
Oh,
but
proud of you. I
Yeah,
should have picked
for sure.
another country. Just
yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess it could, depending upon the region, might be situational, but I think for the most part, I think I would go with especially, that's kind of what we do is explore wine. So why wouldn't you want to try a really, well-rated wine from a region you might not know about? So yeah, I think I'm going unknown wine region.
nice.
Love it.
Ellen,
Love
what do
it.
you think?
You are from my team, definitely. Yeah, you're from the Wine Consul team now. Excellent.
That's right.
Damn
Yeah,
right.
huge influence.
I'm honored.
Because you know what? The thing is, the thing about that poison is that can you imagine drinking something that not everybody knows too much about? It's so unique, maybe highly rated, right? But everybody's like, why is this thing having 90 something points with the Canter or platinum medal in so and so? And it's so unique and it's so hard to find that compared to Opus Napa,
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
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 Well, you're not the first person to bring this up, by the way.
overrated.
That is true.
Overrated. $500. Come on. I can drink better Cab Sauves from Argentina for $30, and it doesn't need to have like a huge ranking and all that stuff. It's super complex and
Sure.
amazing. So that's another group. Definitely can be classic, right?
Sure.
And very known and something, but not for me. So I will stay with the other option, which is less celebrated, lesser known region, because that's my vibe.
Yep.
Love it.
I love it. Aaron, you going to be controversial here? Or are you with us?
Fight. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you all know me. You know I was on the weird wine train like way before. But and I will say I appreciate the Napa connection, because I think once again something that Ellen said towards the beginning of this episode, it's like, why are wines expensive, right? And I will pay for an expensive wine because of the method in which they're creating it,
Yep.
or the
The history.
the scarcity of it. I don't want to pay a ton of money for a label, for a brand. And when you get to some of these big brands, I know I have a good friend who works for a wine in Napa, who, it is an expensive wine, but it is a small batch, a luxury wine. It's not one that you're going to find at Total Wine. And so when you get to these Napa wine places, like, you get to these ones that you can find literally everywhere. When it gets so expensive, you're like, this is for the brand. So I appreciate that. So yeah, I'm 100%, I'm going for the unknown high rating over the known, the region.
Yeah, perfect. You're
There
my
you
team
go.
then.
We're all
go.
we're
Team
all
Wine Consul.
we're all
Absolutely.
on your
That's right.
team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Love that.
Yay,
Nice.
amazing. I love it.
All right.
Yeah, I have to
Yeah,
invite you to keep tasting Croatian wine. So whenever you can find them,
absolutely.
please
Oh, for
do.
sure.
100%.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm sold.
Yeah.
100% locked in. Yeah. And I think that sounds like a plan for moving forward. Dr. Coleman has become our resident Spanish wine expert. Ellen, if you're open to it, I think you are now the official Stop Wasting Your Wine Croatian wine expert. So would love to have you back.
Then you
and
need to find
continue exploring.
Grashevina as soon as
Yes.
possible.
We'll look. We'll take a look.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
We will
come
make
back.
that
We'll come back
happen.
for your next one. We'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Absolutely.
is a legally binding video agreement, so I don't know
Yes.
whether or not you know it.
Yeah.
You're locked in.
I am. I'm in. I love it. I love it. I love talking
Nice.
about wine. We can
Nice.
do like
Yeah.
Greece versus Croatia again, and it's like, yeah,
That's
That would
cool.
be
Oh, that would be
amazing.
such a fun
Yeah.
one. We take the same,
yeah.
the same style or the same grape. That's just that's one we've been talking about, right? Genetically, take the same
Yeah.
grape from a couple different places that we know are the same and compare them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm jazzed up, and we're not even there yet.
All right. Listen, I think we did it. This has been such a fun episode. Honestly, just thank you again so much for joining us, Ellen. It's been amazing. I feel like we learned so much. You definitely opened us up to, a different region and new experience. So thank you so much for doing that. Before we go, anything that you want to plug or call out? How can people, find you on the socials? All that good stuff.
Sure. Thank you so much. No, this is amazing. I had so much fun. At the beginning, I was like, do I have to be serious or do I have to,
No.
not say
You'd
stuff?
be the first one.
And I was like, super sad. Okay, perfect. No, thank you. This is like super fun. I hope I can do it again and we can
Absolutely.
even speak with Jeff
We'd love to
next
have you.
time, right? Oh, thank you. Thank you
For
so much.
sure.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
love to, be here, the person that can bring people together and tasting something different, something super unique, something that is super hard to find, right? That's the beauty of it. That's more appreciated. It's like love, right? Like it's not something easy that you get and the next day you're like, oh, I got bored of it, right?
Yeah.
It's something that is
Totally.
costing you more and you're working hard for it.
Mhm.
But anyways, yeah, you can find me under, in Instagram as the Wine Consul. I recently launched my wine academy back home in my country. That's usually more in Spanish, right? But that's the other Instagram thing that you can find in Facebook as well, in LinkedIn, and in YouTube. But I'm not really that active like you guys, so
Gotcha.
I don't know how to do this. I wish, but
I don't
that's
either. I'm
where
so
I
glad these guys do.
yeah, no,
Neither do I.
you're doing such a great job, by the way. This is great because this
Thank
is
you.
something that we need. It's like a fresh air. Like you don't
Oh, well,
have
thank
to
you.
you don't
Wine
have
can be
to.
fun.
Yeah, wine can needs to be fun, right?
Yeah, it should be.
Not
It
the
can be.
not the
Yeah.
approachable style that everybody talks about, and it's not. It has to be
Yep.
fun, yeah.
That's right.
100%.
100%.
If
Okay,
not, what are we
yeah,
doing
that's
here?
my
Come
take.
on. Yeah,
Exactly.
totally agree.
That's right.
Let's
Well,
keep
that
wasting
that
our wine
yeah, exactly. That I was
on
going to say that
ourselves.
jives perfectly with what we're all about here. So, no, absolutely. Thank you again so much. Would love to have you back. And thank you, listener, also for coming and hanging out with us for another awesome episode. Hey, Aaron, how can people hang out with us if they want to be on the show, have a good pick your poison or other game, or just generally want to talk wine with us?
Well, I mean, if you just want to reach out and say hi and, share, your thoughts, or come onto the show, reach out to us at, stopwastingwine@gmail.com. Hit us up on Instagram, Stop Wasting Your Wine. Obviously, we are on all the social medias except for Twitter, aka X. Screw that thing. But otherwise, check us out and visit our website, stopwastingwine.com, where you can see our past reviews and what's going on. But mostly, like, follow, review, see us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch podcasts. Please do us a favor, watch or listen to the show, and follow us, and like and subscribe. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
right.
Oh my God, you are everywhere. I love it. I love it.
We are everywhere.
Yeah. I love it.
If you Google "Stop Wasting Your Wine," it's just us.
It's
That'll
just
be
us.
us. That'll be us.
Very unique, like this one.
Yes, right.
That's
Right.
perfect. Perfectly.
We are the Croatian wine of podcasts.
That's
There
what they've
you
said.
go.
Yeah, long before this
That's what the
episode.
people are saying.
they've been
People are
saying,
saying
yeah.
that. That's right.
All right. Thanks again. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week on another great episode. And in the meantime, remember, stop wasting your wine.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Love it.
Awesome.